All right, we're sitting down today on the Lever Up podcast with Janine Subgang in the Americanized version of her very German name. Thanks for making the trip all the way out here from San Francisco to talk about your startup and get to know our team a little bit.
Absolutely. I mean, it's halfway on the way to Europe.
Well, that's good. So you basically took us as a giant detour.
Exactly. Just like I was like, if I'm already flying 7 hours,
you might as well take a turn to sunny Florida and then go hard right. Are you going to London or are you going to Germany now?
I haven't decided yet, to be honest.
Well, the Germans like coming to Disney World. So if you want to fly out, there's probably 20 a day from Orlando to Germany.
We have Disney World in Paris as well, but
skip it. Come on, it's Orlando. It's the king.
I went to it last time I was here, actually, when I was 2017, 2018, living in Ocala around the corner.
Oh, that's right. I forgot you have a connection to there. Do me a favor? Give everybody the pithy 2-minute overview of your education and your career so we get to know you a bit better.
Oh, I love this because I think in your preparations you were like, oh, you have like a very interesting and like hectic CV. Like, how did you make design decision and pick your career? I think the career picked me. I studied in Amsterdam and Oxford for my undergrad. I kind of then got stuck, quote unquote, in the UK afterwards. Just things happened. And I stumbled into a co-working space for like frontier tech, where then led the community and led events and those kind of things, met a lot of people. Did a quick thing in a word that you couldn't say in San Francisco for the last 6 months and now finally can say again, which is crypto. It's a very political topic depending on who's in the administration. But things are good again. I'm not getting kicked out of parties anymore for saying I used to work in blockchain and digital assets.
Were you being figurative or literal? Like, would you not be allowed to say at parties?
I have been at parties and I would say blockchain. People turn around and like write a thing like on the whiteboard saying not talking about crypto or not talking about blockchain. Otherwise you'll leave. So did that, really got interested in frontier tech and how we can play around with different premises and shake up existing ways of working. Every time I send a wire in this country, I get very angry about the delays and the cost.
It takes a long time.
It takes a lot of time.
You use TransferWise or Wise?
I do use both, but coming from digital assets, obviously, I'm like, this should cost me cents on the dollars and be executed in minutes, and I should verify that it's in there. I don't understand why it takes 5 days.
It takes a lot of money it costs a lot of money to get money out of Europe and the EU and to repatriate the money. Like, percentages are very high.
Yes. Either way as well. So played around with that, and then long and behold, I like market trends. So when the pandemic hit and everybody ran around headless and was like, oh my God, like airlines are all going to go to zero. I was like, Germany's not going to let Lufthansa die. And the British would not take the shame of like British Air going to zero.
Bailout risk is way too high.
Yeah. Same for Air France and KLM and all those things. And I was pretty sure that the US would at least also save one of their airlines. Like they wouldn't let them all go to zero.
That's the crapshoot in the US. It's definitely going to be American, right? If they bail one out.
Yeah, they can't have American airlines go bankrupt, like the public shame. So I bought airline stock everywhere. And then 3 months into this pandemic, other people realized that actually this would also happen and they're not going to go to zero. So I sold them again.
So do you know who helped bail out Lufthansa? Do you know Aurelius Group?
I don't know. Tell me more.
They bought the catering business of Lufthansa as a beautiful deal. It's an absolutely beautiful deal because Lufthansa wanted to get rid of it. Non-core. It's here in the U.S. It's a beautiful business. The airline, anyway. But I think ostensibly they needed some cash, and they harvested that during the pandemic. So it's
nice.
Anyway,
so if the food's going to shit, I need to call them up.
No, it's a Europeans. I'm sure it'll be just fine. I mean, you got like a really nice meal coming down here from San Francisco, right?
Yeah, I got 14 hours of a trip that should have been 7, and I got about
a bag of chips.
A bag of chips, which I was very surprised about. I thought we'd get more catering on a 4-hour flight.
No. This isn't the European Union.
I know there's no socialism here.
I see. It's not, okay.
But market trends. And so I looked at this whole thing called the Great Wealth Transfer, whether or not you hate it or love it. But I was like, well, if we have 30 million small businesses in the US, they make 40% of US GDP. 13 of those are in the hands of retiring owners. The average sales price of a business on Bizzed by Sell is $375K according to their 2024 report. So I'll just do very basic math and assume they're all just $375K and multiply that with the amount of retiring owners. I get somewhere in the region of 5.1, 5.6 trillion. Trillion.
So that's a big number.
I know we can debate which one of those go into the hands of like their children and which one go to zero and which one are actually viable. And I think this is where we disagree with the rest of the space a lot, where people say like, you can't, like, this 200K SDE, this 500K SDE business isn't sellable because it's a job. I'm like, there's a lot of people with a white collar job who had enough of this and who want to get out. Whether or not they should is a different opinion, but there's definitely user interest.
I know people, and let's take another example.
Yeah.
I know like very retired senior executives that will buy a board seat. Basically, they'll jump $250,000, $300,000 into an asset to get a board seat, making $75 to $125K a year, and then they get to stay a little relevant. Buying a job, I don't think is the issue. I think it's usually, for me, my perspective, it's usually the capabilities of the person that's been working in the business for 30 years. That's to me is the hang up.
Obviously, and you have like knowledge transfer, and you have all those like local things that you need to check through.
Yep.
One of our users, he was 8 years, I think, at Microsoft, was 1 or 2 promotions away from the C-suite, and he just had enough. He didn't want to do it anymore. He had enough of the office politics of like climbing the ladder. So he bought himself 2 laundromats somewhere around Seattle. He makes 500K SDE, and he's very happy. And obviously he's like, well, if everybody cancels on a Sunday because they're sick or hungover, I'm the one in the shop. But like most days, things go well. Every now and then things don't, and then I'm on the line. But very happy. I think most people are more competent than we give them credit for.
I think that's a decent example of like, a business is not going anywhere. It serves a niche market. I was talking to someone yesterday that was going to buy a custom automation equipment business from a founder that's the design guy, owns the relationships. You have to sell your own book every single year. It was 1 in EBITDA. And I'm like, guy, like life's too short.
Yes, that's complicated. I think these are things. So originally when we started out, we were thinking about how do we make it easier for people to go through due diligence, financial, operational, like questions like this, like basically telling people you're stupid, this is a bad idea, you shouldn't do this, and filtering them out so they don't wreck their house and their 401k and their savings when buying a business. And that's where we started thinking about. There's plenty of companies doing AI due diligence for private equity firms, for like MBA searches for the established ones. I'm a lot more interested in creating new paradigms and new markets for what we typically would call in VC the prosumer, so like the competent, business-oriented consumer, than I am making private equity bros go quicker. I understand it's a very lucrative market. I'm sure it makes fun, but it's just like, it's a little bit more interesting for me to venture out into like actual venture, like new market creation. So if you think back to Shopify, for example, when they started 40,000 e-commerce shops, and there's this interesting interview with Tobi Lütke, who's also German, by the way. I know I'm very much trying to reach at some point. And he's going down a Sandy Hill Road, and he's trying to talk to the VCs, and many say like, well, 40,000 e-commerce shops, like that's not big enough of a TAM. This is never going to work. Who wants to run an e-commerce shop? This is like a niche thing. And so obviously Shopify, very interesting company also after their IPO, where like even financial markets did not know how to price it. If you see the gap from when they went to IPO to like where they were a couple of years later, how many more billions they increased. And so like the VC sat and I'm like, told him, what did I miss? Like, what did I not see? And Tobi famously said, between supply and demand eventually lies friction, and friction shapes the world. And so there was this massive market, this untapped market of prosumers or normal consumers wanting to run e-commerce shops. I mean, nowadays Shopify does like enterprise as well, but back in the day that it helped mostly those people. That got enabled by them removing the friction, because you can develop a good product, but you're not going to sign up to a process where you need to build your own website and you need to figure out how to do payment integrations and how do you handle your supply and all of those kind of things, and inventory management and taxes and marketing and website integrations and newsletter integrations, et cetera. So like they do click.
The click's the easy part. The buy it, the store front, it's the easy part.
Yeah.
The logistics sucks, right? It's what's hard.
But the thought process was how and I think every time he recently needed to leak a memo, I think, because he said the team should use AI and everything. Apparently horrendously controversial. But the memo opens with like, for years we've been thinking about how to break down barriers or something like this, how to break down barriers for entrepreneurs and like get more people into this movement. And that's a similar way where we think about how can we make it simpler, not necessarily easier for people to acquire businesses. And how like those kind of questions of like, should you buy this business where there's massive knowledge concentration, or should you buy this business where there's massive customer concentration? Like all those things are like tick boxes I can walk you through and say like, this is a good idea, this is a bad idea, here's your key risk, etc. pp.
So diligence and execution, right? Two different work streams. So I just took a 10-minute call with my accountants that are doing a revenue proof before they do a full QOV. And how do you automate the process of having an advisor? Will a debt shop ever accept the AI version of that? Could you put I'm making this, I ostensibly look at Bizzed as like a platform that has modules. I'm asking, not telling.
Yeah.
Is that okay?
We are automated buy-side advisory, right? So if you go out and you want to buy a business, you have your accountant looking at the books, you have your lawyer looking at the legal contracts, he's drafting up the legal contracts, and then you grab some kind of business expert. I would call you up and be like, hey, I'm doing this deal, tell me why I'm stupid, beat this up for me, right? All those kind of things. Lots of these are processes that we go through every time. So we have a time check for this, we have a time, like we check for customer concentration, we check for market competition, we check for legal documents, right? Like these are steps that you can do over and over again. This isn't a one-click solution, right? In the sense of like, you don't just give us a website and magically the next day we tell you this is a good idea, right? Like give us a website, we write you initial reports. We tell you here are the risks. Are these risks that you're comfortable with? If you go to the next step, we tell you upload us some initial books, right? Like tax returns. And then you go from that to that. The way it works underneath the hood, I'm going to butcher this a little bit because I'm not that technical, is you do a lot of like ontology-based RAG, retrieval augmented generation. So you have like a lot of context. We're using another company called Hypernym who like increases our context window. So you basically let the agent run through steps, and it's also not one massive agent, right? Like people think about like, oh, it's just GPT. I'm just going to upload this document to GPT, and obviously there's too many steps and too much information for that to actually go through. And you see the difference in quality, I think, if you try like deep research on GPT.
The deep research button is awesome.
Yeah, and you see how it goes.
It is awesome. And it says, come back to me. I'll get back to you in 25 minutes.
Yeah, and it tells you what it thinks about and its first step, and now it has this piece of information, and now it goes somewhere else. And so like we do something like that, but like at 10x the intensity and the leverage. And then the whole platform obviously is modelized as well. You don't do it all at once. So I think when you gave us one of your example deals, we had so much more data than people normally give us, right? Because they give us a link, and then we tell them to get us some books, and then we get like tax returns, and then we do it step by step. Yep. That we actually needed to rewrite the back end a little bit to like really deal with all of this information at once and draw from like some other old algorithms. What
did you say? I ruined your CTO's weekend or made it a really good weekend? I forget it. You said something.
I think you made it a really good weekend. I mean, he spent all day coding, but like this is, I think, the difference between your world and my world, where we go like, it's broken, great. It's like it's like best thing that could happen is like very early on we broke the website, right? I created so much demand. I was like at Search Funder and Reddit and all those
That's hilarious.
groups, and we had too many users, and somebody tweeted at us and was like, you're down. I was like, awesome. So like in startup world, you think very much about like, you don't fix a problem before it comes up. Like until people give a damn, I don't need to have a really good backend infrastructure and waste time on that. I first need to figure out if anybody gives a damn.
You have to understand, I cut my teeth on a nuclear reactor. There's no such thing as a good problem.
Yes.
There's no such thing as a good problem. There's no problem is ever good.
And I would not recommend that we run the same attitude on our government or on
I'm getting agita right now thinking about it.
Yeah, I don't want you to turn around and be like, great, the cooler broke down, now we'll fix this. Like there are things.
The reactor coolant pump shit the bed, no problem.
I mean, it's a two-way and one-way door problem, right? Like nuclear reactors are very much a one-way door situation.
It's a one-way door situation. I never heard that metaphor before.
It's Bezos actually
I never heard him
made this. So I think maybe it's an urban myth, but I think it's Bezos who said like most decisions are two-way door. I can go like back and forth between it. I can change the name.
You can do it. So
do it quickly. Some of them are one-way door situation, and think properly about them.
When I was at Amazon, I was only there for a year. I was doing this Kaizen event, and there's a guy, I don't even know if he remembers me. His name was Fernando Pombiero. And I was like hamstrung about like this idea that I liked. And he was just like, make a change. Just make a change. And it kind of stuck with me. And because where I was, reactors and then a oil refinery. Oil refinery is a giant bomb, right? And so these things it's a very different system than being at an Amazon but I went to go work at things that were restructuring, and then so the the chemical business I worked at was simultaneously a giant bomb, and you had to make decisions really, really quickly because it was a global financial crisis.
Do you just like things that can explode?
You know, I mean, in the history, my career is like revolved around things that can blow up. Things that could blow up. Removing heat from things.
I mean, I think comparatively, a deal blowing up is so much more relaxing than an actual like.
Ironically, it's more stressful because you can't determine it, right? I know what the parameters at a nuclear reactor need to be, and I can watch it, and the numbers are really visible, and at the refinery, and this is going to go bad. I'll tell you a funny story. We're looking at a bolt-on, and I thought everything was going well, and then like the seller ghosts on us.
Many such cases.
And it was like months later we get a call back. He's like, "Yeah, I'm sorry, my cat died." It's like it's not always you. And it kind of one of the quotes I like and I thought it was us, right? In the absence of information, your mind is filled with devils, not angels, right? So it's. But
it is a good sign of radical accountability, right? Like you can never control what the other person happens to you.
I know, but you take 100% ownership. It's always my fault, no matter what, right?
Yeah, at least that's the most productive way of going about it. It's not necessarily the best for.
It's not the bow. Well, I mean, they're two. I mean, like this basic going back to who do you blame and who do you. You know, if you blame everybody else, you're not going to accomplish anything. Okay, back to your vision for your company. What's your pitch when you're raising money?
Depends on who I'm talking to. So obviously in San Francisco, I say we do like AI due diligence for individual M&A. We're like an AI native platform with agentic behaviors. The things when I talk to bankers, I sometimes say I want to make private equity bros unemployed. Which is a joke because we don't engage in that world, but we really care about moving more people into business ownership. So there's two ways to look for it. When you talk to VC, it's all about the money and the market and how we can conquer this market and how most people don't really have that much market share on there, right? If we think about, we do 200,000 transactions a year in this space, like in small business buying. That number with just the retiring owners needs to go to 800,000 a year. We need to 4x that number. And I love what like Off Deal and like Bizzed and everybody's doing. I just don't think that we're going to 4x this number by making more 2 million HVAC companies transact to MBA bros quicker.
They're not.
There's not that many there of them as well. If you look at them.
But the question is, do the businesses just turn into vaporware? Do they really need to transact, or they just die and get sucked up by larger platforms? Just the customers go away.
I see what you mean. I've thought about this, but either way, this number is moving, right? Like it doesn't matter. Like from a market perspective, I'm in this place because I know 5 trillion are moving somehow. Like whether they go to like a private equity backed HVAC or they go to like somebody new buying it or bolt-on or M&A or those kind of things. And from what I know from when I talk to smaller sellers is they care a lot about their team. They care a lot about their legacy, their company. They obviously want money, everybody does, but there is definitely an element where they prefer, and where I've seen people even give discounts to individual buyers that had that trust element of like, you're going to take care of these people, of what I've built, versus somebody in a suit who comes in there and is like, well, this is the multiple, and here are the 10-page NDA documents that you don't understand, and da-da-da-da.
So I've literally seen that 2 or 3 times over the last 3 years where we met a founder that was 80, and he'd been fighting, I got to be a little careful, he'd been fighting a major big box retailer in the trenches for 40 years, 50 years, 45 years. He couldn't go to his team and then say he was selling to them now to the turn of like 2 multiples. And I mean, like an 8-digit number left on the table. Now, if you could literally take the business and then just trade it during sale to close, he didn't make that decision though. Right? Like now you could, but that would be disingenuous if you did that. You said you were going to do it, yada, yada, yada. And even if you did that, I think that would let him off the hook and go, I'm sorry, not my fault.
Yeah. I mean, you are currently creating this dichotomy where it's like, oh, you're either selling out to like big private equity, big companies, or you're going to be eaten up from them. I don't see the market that centralized. So like obviously in like certain retail and other things, but I see a lot of fragmentation all across most physical businesses, from dog walking to like who's big in window cleaning, maybe Phil's. Like, but I haven't seen like massive franchising, massive like private equity backed moves I see private equity buy more and more HVAC and plumbing and those kind of things, but still I think this market is massively fragmented. And so I'm still competing with you locally. I'm competing on knowledge. I can build the community. I have the existing brand. And there's a lot. There are a lot of deals that are valuable. There are deals where you're like, oh God, this is a sinking ship with a big leak and a lot of headache and repair cost. And that's what we're there for, to tell people this is a bad idea. Or you're buying a laundromat that's next to a trailer park, and the trailer park is supposed to move in 2 years because they've just released some like building permits for a new skyscraper. Maybe don't buy that, right? Like those kind of like thought processes.
How does AI catch that though? That's such a pen stroke risk. There's no way it can catch that.
Okay, so like the way you were thinking about this is that there's somebody thinks ahead. We just run through all the scenarios.
Okay, fair enough.
We have like a very, very big long list of like and every time I see a new niche one, right? Like I come across somebody else's deal that went sideways or reasons for that, we'll add it to it. And we go like, just check for this.
But then your filter gets tighter. You go from 100 micron filter to 20 micron filter.
Yeah, but it's like, that's the beauty.
Is that good?
But like, the beauty of it is that I have it automated, I have it on compute, and we don't sleep, right? Like it doesn't cost me much to run these queries, and it doesn't cost me much time either. And so obviously sometimes you can use some pre-filtering. So like if it's an electric company, I don't need to check for like this laundromat thing or so on. But that's the beauty. So like a buy-side advisor has 24 hours in a day of which he needs to sleep 8 at some point. Otherwise they die of heart attack issues, which we're seeing quite often enough in finance, right?
Yeah.
AI doesn't need to sleep, and the cost of compute is just trending downwards. I think we had this debate a couple of months ago, right?
We
Where
did.
I said graduate level thinking is becoming a commodity. I think it's Sam Altman who was like, the models are the worst they'll ever be right now. They just get better. And I think the leap we've seen with OpenAI's latest release, I'm sure you tried it out, is massive, right? Like how much better it is than thinking. I was shipping my clothes, right, from the US to the UK, and I've did this once in Germany, and Germany is annoying. They charge you, I think, 50 quid for a fee just to process your own goods being resent into your country that you own where you live. And I was like, I don't want to deal with that. So I send OpenAI out to do it. And the leap that it did and the detailed research that it did into like, I've checked this law, now I'm checking this law, now I'm checking HMRC, etc., was massive. I was like, this is a really good report, and I now know what to do. So much better than just asking the general GPT-4 model without deep research. And so like you see that thinking difference and that thinking capability.
So this friend of mine I met on Twitter that's in Dubai, he bought a recycling business named Wole. And he said, I don't want to know anything that's bad news for a deal that would make me not transact if I could manage it after we close.
Yes. Is your friend experienced and has done a couple of deals?
This is his first control. He did his first control deal. Mm-hmm. He was an investment banker.
Yeah. Okay.
Finance.
Sorry. He's a private equity, he's an investment banker person, he has the knowledge, he's seen a million deals. Yep. He got paid on somebody else's dime to actually learn the skills he needed 100%. To do that. This is great, and I think we help those people. So I talk to a lot of like professional or semi-professional searchers, self-funded or that raise a search fund that are just, can you just make this quicker? I want to upload some sims, I need them to run against my thing, and then I need them to go into financial analytics directly and do like a detailed analysis, not a quality of earnings yet, but like a little bit more detailed, and then just give me outputs and tell me if this works, because I have too many of those. I'm like, we can do that.
So who's your target market?
My target market is actually, you're going to hate this so much. Okay, it's all the people who want to move into small business buying, whether or not to leave a job or to extend cash flow, but that don't quite know how to do that. And right now, so like the beachhead segment of users we deal with are users that are actively in the process and have a current pain issue. So like they're on Search Funder, they're on Reddit, they're somewhere being like, what do we had lately? Oh, somebody was like, oh, my supplier is going up for sale. I'm 50% of their revenue. How on earth do I negotiate this? Or I work in this gym, and I think she was like 22, and her boss was like, hey, take it over from me. I'm retiring. You should buy it. And she was like, oh, well, he walks away with like 10K a month. I know that, but I don't know if this is a good idea and how much risk is there. And I was like, this sounds like a great opportunity, right? Like other people would be beyond happy getting handed an 8K
It's
job.
scary to put that much debt on something.
It's scary, and it's like especially also scary, like what are you in? And once you're in, you're going to fight. So like we are there to like consultancy, we're there to give you the warm, fuzzy feeling that somebody has thought about it, and we told you the risk, and you have like a second person guiding you through this.
So what I'm hearing you say is your Xanax for the the new small business entrepreneur.
Yeah, like think about it. The search term for how to buy a business, like specifically how to buy a business, not buy a business, has a 900% year-over-year increase in the last 12 months.
That's crazy.
And if you look at this little graph just for buy a business search term, that has been going steadily upwards since 2019. Now, whether or not that's also partly Cody Sanchez's work, I'm not going to say, but there's definitely, there's a movement.
My favorite human being.
This is why I said you hate that. But there's definitely an element where we focus on the people. And like, look at this space right now. If you think about it, there's so much friction. My two options are, if I'm an individual and I haven't done this before, I either pay around 20K every time I want to deep dive into a business, assuming I need to look at 100 business in general and 10 in depth just to buy one. That's like 200K just for like all the due diligence I need to spread out. If I'm buying a 500K acquisition business, or maybe 800K, like that's a lot of money.
It's a lot of money.
That many people don't have, right? Like you can get an SBA 7 loan. We're working on private credit, which structured like instruments for people to even get like more liquidity quicker for those acquisitions. That's a lot of money. Or the alternative is I pay one of the gurus that you dislike so much. And then I'm in a system where I get on a call maybe once a week, maybe twice a week, where I can bring my deal and then I need to wait a whole week or 2 weeks before I can bring the next one to get feedback.
You're talking about your target market would go A or B, and they should call you B instead of A, the gurus.
I'm just saying that we are a lot quicker, right? Like you can upload your website at 3 a.m. in the morning of the business you're buying. You have a like initial report 20 minutes later. You get a deep dive. In about a day, we can tell you by the end of your workday if you should look further into this business or not. It's a lot quicker than waiting a week or 2 weeks to be on like your deal review again, and then maybe get your deal review done.
I can't even imagine.
Like that's how this.
I can't even imagine waiting for someone that's never bought a business before to tell me how my deal is. I just can't even imagine.
I mean, you have experience, right? So
no, I'm talking. I can't imagine someone in the space taking advice they get it salient from someone who's never bought a company before. I just can't even imagine that. We'll leave it at that.
We'll leave it at that. I care about more people wanting to buy businesses and being halfway educated on the matter. And I think those two factors are being done by.
So how do you monetize? How are you monetizing this?
We monetize at transaction points. So we take a success fee. We eat the cost of you maybe having 10 bad businesses and running these queries.
Okay.
Because the cost of these models is also trending towards zero more and more. Isn't that nice? And Google just gave us $350K to play with their models. So we have some leverage there. But we basically let you analyze businesses for free. There's an element where we do a test to pay willingness, just because that's very important early in a product. Everybody loves stuff for free, but you really need to test if somebody would be willing to pay $50 or $100 down just to see what actual consumer interest is. And then obviously on the other hand, there's the credit that you take. Most businesses are bought with some form of, right? A mix of debt and equity. May I interest you in buying a business with a mix of debt and equity? Wasn't it
This is a good time to plug your live, laugh, leverage. Thank you. I'm gonna put this on one of the Yeti cups.
You should.
If you would have told me people would be buying $40 cups as corporate swag 10 years ago, I never would have believed you.
Everybody loves to hate consumer until somebody gets it right, and then everybody loves to love consumer. You can't figure it out,
right? Like I would never underwrite being a consumer investor because I'm terrible.
Yes, but I also think it's so much quicker, right? Like it's like people buy things or not. Like you run a little bit of ad campaigns, you run some TikTok, some Instagram. You know if people come to your website, if they put things into your shopping cart or not. Sales cycles for like B2B SaaS are long and complicated, and everybody tells you they want to have it.
I just want people to buy washers from me. That's it.
Yeah.
Washers and piping. It's slow and boring.
Slow and boring.
Okay. Got how you're monetizing it. Success fee
and private credit.
And you're gonna write debt on it.
We are the central allocator.
You're gonna broker some debt.
Yes and no. There's things in the making. I don't like to get too much into that. One of the biggest problems for analyzing P&Ls and tax returns is that it's an abstraction of what's actually there. Getting regional insight is very, very difficult, but extremely valuable. So what we're currently playing around with is something of like a first loss regional investment. perspective. So if you have a dog walking business or daycare you want to take over, theoretically, some of your consumers should be interested in owning a stake of that transaction to ensure that that business goes forward. So like similar to how BrewDog, right, when they had the shipment that went uncooled to the US and they were completely like basically at zero and leveraged and on the road to bankruptcy, turned around to its like power users and were like, hey, do you want to invest in us? And you'll get like your pro rata payout and you have a stake in the company, et cetera.
It's a very tri-state area plus Silicon Valley plus LA play.
Yeah.
It's like communal investing in the businesses.
Not at all, but it's obviously a great way to source local, regional investment insight, because if nobody wants to, you can't even find a single person of your customers. Maybe they know something about the business, the market, or you that is just very hard to abstract away into like an Excel spreadsheet. So that's, now you have first loss sorted, and we're going to do like some form of revolving credit line of like more risk interested.
Okay, so you could take a success fee. You could also write some debt, potentially with some warrants too. You can crowdsource some equity.
We're just centrally arranging products, right? Like, so I'm not sure that we should securitize burrito taxis. I'm not sure if Klarna x DoorDash. Klarna x DoorDash is great for Klarna and DoorDash. I'm not sure if it's great for like the financial markets on the back of it, but everybody is currently in the frenzy about private credit. And for some reason, private credit hates to underwrite a 200K business. Like I can go to ThinkCats and get you like a 2 million loan for anything right now. But if you have like a 500K loan, it gets a lot harder.
That's unique to the US though. You can't really do that in the UK.
You wait.
No, I'm. That's just an opportunity. No, I'm being serious. Like, there's no such thing as the SBA in the UK.
Exactly. The UK cancelled it. Germany still has it.
Germany still has it.
We have the KfW. We have the something K für Wiederaufbau. You have the Raiffeisen Bank in Vienna, who just released a fund specifically deploying into like these generational wealth transfer businesses of the Mittelstand, as we call it.
Mittelstand.
And I was talking to somebody in London who used to know them, and they said they have a massive problem finding enough people who do these transactions because it's not well talked about. It's very like high friction. Nobody knows how to follow them.
It's a highly illiquid market.
Most things, okay, here's what it is. Most things aren't illiquid because nobody wants to buy them. Most things are illiquid because it comes with 3 months of lawyers and shenanigans and bureaucracy and like legal costs to
it's
make this transaction.
It's a highly illiquid market. It's a major purchase. Like buying a house is highly standardized in the US. Yeah. I know you Germans like renting, but like,
I don't know if we like it or if we need to with the current market.
But you guys you don't buy houses. Like Americans, like we want to buy houses, right? In
the British too. Like it's the British dream is like,
you can live in a castle. Why would you not want to have a house in the UK?
400 or 500K in the south of France, right?
All in.
You can't even get an apartment for that.
I want a chateau or I want a castle in Dublin, outside of Dublin, right? It's such a .com. Everybody said real estate agents were going away. They never went away. Everybody said car dealerships were going away. They never went away. Car dealership is like a $30,000 to $50,000 purchase. Maybe use 15. It's still a very big number to most Americans. Houses, you want somebody to walk you through the transaction. Now, not the problem, but when it's a business, there's liability involved. There's not much liability involved with a housing transaction, and your house doesn't go away. Your job goes away. It's more the bank underwriting you. Yep. And your credit history, right? But you go into business land and you're like, I'm going to call today. They're like, tell me about this. Tell me about the biggest customer and how many years have they with them? What does the contract look like? And then someone else gives money. Then we're going to get some debt, and it's.
Yeah, but you also work levels up from the transactions we make with like increased complexity and more stakeholders and more DCFs and projections. But we don't do projected outcomes. We do, if nothing changes, here's how much money you get. And if you have a 10% downturn and everything goes down, here's how much you still make. Like, these are the questions we ask. We assume nothing changes.
You're going to want to do a $500K to 1.5 million EV deal.
Yes, and I want to make sure that the person who buys this business is not going to wreck their house, has the lowest, like there's no such thing as no risk, but has the lowest risk transactions we can possibly have in an industry like that with something that makes sense and is sensible.
So rank it on a scale of... Where do you put this in a risk matrix? Like more or less risky than the house loans that were written in 2007 in the United States?
Well, this is not a financial advice. I think the problem I don't have a PhD in econ from Harvard, okay? The problem in 2007...
I just went to Oxford.
For an undergrad degree.
That's the harder one to do.
That is true.
There's Harvard and there's Harvard Business School.
Okay.
Right? It's Harvard is harder to get into, right?
Okay, well, the problem I see in '07 isn't that were underwriting housing deals, it's that we were underwriting high-risk housing deals with no common sense because everybody wanted more private credit. And so sometimes when I see the Klarna X DoorDash deal, I'm like, what's the underlying here? I think a business that has existed for 20 years, that has customers and some machinery, is more safe than somebody's buy now, pay later Chipotle order. Yeah, in my opinion.
We were looking at this diamond tool cutting business, or diamond tool making business that cut asphalt and stuff. And some of my team was really worried about the founder when the founder laid risk. People do business with companies, not with founders, right? This is called $1.5 million, $2 million EBITDA business. And how does your engine square the circle around how relevant the founder, owner, CEO is to the business? What's the math on that?
You'll need to ask the CTO for that.
Okay, no, I don't mean the ladder logic.
Okay.
I mean, how do you guys think about that? Because that's a critical component.
I mean, it depends on the business, right? These are questions that you ask the seller. And if you're on the platform and you walk through the steps from like initial due diligence and discovery to like LOI and credit stage, at some point there's question marks that we want you to talk through the seller. And ideally there's some form of like fireflies or transcript that we can analyze afterwards. And then we'll just give you template questions of like, ask us, like talk to us, explain to me how you walk through your day, how you talk to customers, how centralized are they? You can like look at how many emails are they involved in? Are they the ones who are doing the deals?
Yep.
Those kind of things. And it depends on the business, right? Sometimes it's not that critical, and sometimes you can see that he is like the man who makes everything go round. Do they have sales teams or not? What are the contracts like? This is like industry specific. And so we're not the person who goes around and says like, oh, this is 100% secure deal and you guaranteed make money. We're the person who goes around and is like, have you thought about these things? Have you thought about this problem? We don't think this answer is good enough for this problem. We think here's a major key risk. There's no such thing as a perfect deal.
No, absolutely not. Everything's got warts on it. Everything.
And I think there's about 10 to 20% of like just bad deals. And most of the times it's somebody bringing us a coffee shop or a restaurant or a hotel.
Terrible businesses.
And it's like, don't hate me calling a baby ugly, because there's people who've made Starbucks, I think, down here millions
that's 30
doing
years
coffee.
ago, right? That doesn't count now.
Yes, I just think I look at the data. I look at the SBA default rates. I look at like, where do you come back? I look at how old is the business? How prone is the business to disruption right now? And I just like generally stir in the right direction and say, let's not do cafes and restaurants unless we've already made a lot of money and we have space to play around with. Like for the first couple of deals, do something sensible, do something easy, do something like low complication.
Why wouldn't you guys start a business brokerage too? You feel conflicted?
No, I think it's on the roadmap, right? People come to me and say like, oh, I just want to like find the right business and there's so much search to do. But right now our user segment already has a pain and is already in the search of buying a business. And that's where we start and grow the market and start with like having our wedge into the market. And at some point we'll deal with people who've seen one of your least favorite influencers 5 times on their TikTok and are like, oh, I want to buy a business. And we'll be like, give us your parameters and can present you a couple.
So would you ever do sell side diligence and it's a Bizzed AI stamped deal?
I don't want to be a marketplace. I think the incentives are misaligned.
I agree with that.
I think our right, like if you look at like Off Deal and all those other marketplaces, it's like then they charge the seller and you can tap for sellers and you can tap for buyers and like they always tell you that they get you the best deal and I just don't quite believe that. I think we do a good job if we, and this is why I want to make the money on success and the money with the lenders and the acquisition people, because now on the acquisition loan, now I am incentive aligned to not only make sure you get a business, but also make sure you get a good business, because otherwise it looks bad for me.
Are you tied to the default? You could be tied to the default.
Well, we haven't decided that yet.
No, I mean from a, hey, you might have given the stamp.
Yeah, obviously there's a massive data play, right? Like in 5 years, we will have all the data, not only about which businesses work, but also which buyers and which user behavior on platform is indicative of success later on, right? We'll get all this data that you don't quite get if you're just an SBA lender because you're so tied in. Like obviously they look at your like employment history. He's ChatGPT.
Because you said a really interesting point. Talk to me about like what's the median profile of someone that uses your service.
So really interestingly, at the moment, we see a lot of like highly competent white collar workers. So we had somebody at Microsoft, we had somebody product at Expedia, those kind of people. And then obviously like searchers, which are...
What does a searcher mean anyway?
How do you...
Like search fund? I mean, I know what it means. It's kind of nebulous.
Okay, it's kind of...
You see what I'm saying?
For me, a searcher is somebody who is out there and playing more of the MBA, M&A, private equity game of I need a 2 million EBITDA business and either uses outside capital or is playing around with the SBA 7 loan in a way where they're a lot more strategic and they're a lot more on a 10-year horizon. When I have my classic white-collar person who's like maybe in does marketing for a mid-sized firm or like middle management somewhere, they're like, I want out of here. I think Eric made that post, SMB Law Group, where it was like, oh yeah, like a contact of mine just left her 6-figure job to have an online business that makes her 80K because she wants to pick up her kids. Like these people are a little bit more, they want to buy a business for the long term. They're not yet thinking about the multiple they get later or like the bolt-on acquisitions. They're like, I want more cash flow.
I want to buy it like a rental house, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, exactly. It's a difference between house flippers, which are searchers in my opinion, and people who really like are thinking about moving in for this long term and might sell later at a point when the number is right or the life is right or their circumstance.
So I had the new ChatGPT model.
Okay.
I'm gonna pull the what are the archetypes of people who want to transition to small business ownership? We'll let that, you know what, I'm gonna use deep research too. We'll let that bake and we'll come back. So go ahead.
No, I wanted to say like we had a very interesting point earlier that I think we've kind of like brushed over that ties in nightly, where you talked about the .com bubble and how people said like all these jobs will be gone. And I think there's an element where it's very, very hard to predict. When you look inside the .com bubble, all the like the crazy suggestions we had and how most of them didn't turn out true. But then also how we really quickly, we were like so in love with like .com and it just like, it took the tech so long to come after like, yes, they were right. We're going to order everything online and we're going to have like apps and like you're gonna order your pizza and everything's gonna be digital and like DocuSign. But in the time, like the tech just wasn't frictionless enough for consumers to really move through. So a lot of companies also, big promises. Nobody really knew the benefit of it, which I feel is a little bit like in AI right now as well.
Well, it's the wild, wild west again.
Yeah.
We went through this with www.w everything, right?
And now we're doing it with .ai.
I know. A friend of mine just bought $1 million .com domain name.
Wow.
And is I gotta keep it secret now, but it was like, really? He was like, absolutely, it was absolutely necessary. He was 100% convicted.
I'm not sure if .com will move to .ai, but then again, I'm also in the group of people who think XYZ endings are totally normal, and my Wi-Fi in San Francisco still blocks our XYZ website.
I didn't even know there was such thing as an XYZ.
Yeah.
Z
Sorry.
ending. Okay, so it's seriously back to your target market. So there's two kinds of sale conversions. You got an existing person that's in the marketplace that you don't need to convert, and you got someone that doesn't know they want the service. I use this to someone who uses makeup, right? Someone uses makeup, you can convert them to your brand, or someone that has bad skin that you need to go on skincare, right? So which of those two types come to you first?
Somebody who already uses makeup, because you know about like beachhead segment and how you like need to like, when you have a new product, right? You're not gonna initially get everybody who could potentially use this and is interesting to use
clearly
it.
not.
You use people with an active pain point, which are people who are already in this.
Yeah.
And they want to do it. So like that's where we focus on.
One-step sell.
We do, and then we grow from there and we move forward. I mean, it's growing pretty quickly. We've done no paid ads, and we're growing an average of 80% month over month. 80 since last
How many queries did you do last month?
I don't know that number out of the top, but we have around 3,000, 4,000 users on platform or so.
That's brilliant.
And then like the average proposals, I think 2.3, 2.4. And like, as I said, we have 2 billion enterprise value analyzed, which includes...
Which is a big number for the size of the check.
And for the size of the time we've been active, right? Like, so in 6 months, users brought us 2 billion.
When did you go live?
August.
Jesus Christ.
With this from. And
clearly I'm wrong and you're right.
We'll see. Money, in the end, it's cash flow. Happiness is positive cash flow, right? Money is all that matters, but we'll see. And then there's 200 million of actual like businesses in the right stage, which are good businesses, but users who seem ready to buy, which we call debt origination, that we could facilitate.
What origination?
Debt.
Debt, okay.
Assuming, right, like 200 million enterprise value, that like 50% of that would be finance and debt.
I mean, there's 27 ways. Not that we just need to worry about monetizing it. I see a vision, but like somebody gets a deal that they like, that you like, that they can't quite take down. Do you need a syndicate of investors? Do you have
there's so many people. Every time I go somewhere, it doesn't matter if I go to a crypto conference or I'm like at Floodgates, family and friends presenting, there's always somebody in the audience who's like, I don't really want to manage that thing, but I would love to deploy a loan into it or take a minority equity percentage. Can you just build that? And we're playing around with that. Like that feature is coming. It just, I don't want to do too many things at once.
You won't do them well. So that's my whole principle from board governance. You set up a heartbeat and a PMO and you do 3 things at a time. And once you get that heartbeat set up, you take one off the list, then you add another one on. I've seen private equity deals go horribly awry because there's 12 things on the to-do list, like strategic big initiatives, and none of them get fucking done.
Despite them hiring consultancies to tell them that they should move online.
That's a whole set of perverse incentives. Like consultants are like bed bugs. Like once they're in, they ain't leaving. Like it's...
I know, which is why I very quickly stepped out of it. I was like, I just can't.
So you did a year in the McKinsey accelerator type thing, right?
So they do this thing in Germany, which I think is called a fellow or something, which is basically you're in university and they'll take you to a lot of events and meetups and workshops and basically put you on like a pre-consultant career path.
And then you didn't go back?
No.
Were they disappointed?
I don't know. I think the interesting thing about the UK is I'm not a proper bread and butter Oxford grad, so I have it a lot harder actually. I'm not because I was a visiting scholar, so I'm not. And so I wasn't really interested in competing.
So elitist.
They're super. They're like, you're like, I was kind of like a half a human. I was only half an Oxford grad. And
the Germans again.
I could have probably gone to Germany, but at that time I was being flown around the world, going to digital asset conferences and doing sales in Europe for a crypto payroll company. So I had a good time, and I liked playing around with like new tech primitives, and I like messing things up a little bit. I think I've always felt like the imposter amongst the elites. I know I'm very privileged.
Everybody at McKinsey feels like an imposter.
I've been
every single human being.
I got a scholarship to boarding school. I got some financing for Oxford. So it never felt quite like I properly deserved to be there. And I think I come from an actually rather middle class German family. So like my grandfather was in the, do you have this as well, like the workers' council inside the company? So we call it the Betriebsrat.
So the like the unions,
not quite, but similar.
But like the board of like the workers' board.
Yeah,
we
but
don't
like
really have that here, but I know what you're talking
it's
about.
like, but like it's a mix. So like it's the company board, but one of those people or like two of these people are always like representative from like a lower level.
So you have the supervisory board in Germany. You have like 2 boards in Germany, but they put a worker on, I forget if it's a junior board or the senior board.
Yeah, exactly. So like my grandfather was there, my mother is in one right now. So like there's a certain attitude where, and like, okay, so here's my formative experience and my opinion on this. When I was in Mexico, my school had exchange with the German school in Mexico. I was in Mexico City for like 3-4 months. I loved it there. I was shocked how much art is there and culture, right? Like
Mexico City is great.
It's beautiful. It's like the museums are for free, unheard of for me as a German. There were people just doing like ballerina performances at the red light, just for show, not to collect money, just because of art. I was in love with it. But I remember sitting in my friend's like Mercedes, and he goes like, oh yeah, and this is like security glass, right? You can't shoot, and like here's the button that you press if you're under attack. And I was like, wow, is this like a special edition? And he was like, no, this is how they come off the factory.
Yep.
And I remember my neighbors, like my friend's house, they didn't have any service staff anymore because the neighbor's daughter got kidnapped by the chauffeur after 16 years of service. And so I think it was a McKinsey report as well who said at some point, if like society goes too far out, you just have this like absolutely chaotic perspective. And like, what's the gun to capita ratio in this country? I think it's 11 guns per capita. I'm a believer that people like money is earned and money is earned hard, but that there also is an element of, I want to move more people into ownership because it makes you, I think it's called political efficacy. Like you're doing something, you have ownership, you're active. Like it's better for wealth building as well if we have multiple like millionaires there instead of this like massive discrepancies. And I think it's a way better way to get people into ownership and entrepreneurship and working their way up than trying to like reallocate this via taxes or otherwise.
Oh yeah, so I forget that it's 80 or 90% of all millionaires in the U.S. are first generation, something like that. And but most of them are created through 401ks. And if you really, well, right, exactly. So if you really impact that though, the number's 20 or 30% of something that built a business or, built a bit. Go ahead.
I was just saying, like, but acquisition is still one of the major means of making millionaires and billionaires.
Well, it's real estate. It's real estate, or real estate is 9 out of 10 the millionaires in the U.S. that are not 401ks.
there's a massive multiplier effect as well to this, where I think about we're getting people who aren't your classic CEO, private equity person into leadership roles, and they're becoming CEOs, and they're hiring, and they have new hiring practices. And suddenly, if you hate the way the world is, you have impact on this. I can hire differently. I can have different hiring practices. If I don't disagree with certain policies, I can just run my ship differently. If I hated my bosses, I can be a better boss. So you have all these ways to be
You got some levers you can pull.
Yeah, it matters who you buy, who are your suppliers, right? There's this amazing, I know these studies very well because I care a lot about the impact. My CTO cares a lot, my co-founder, about the money and the finances. He's the Finbro. Where 68 cents, right, of every dollar you spend locally stay in your community versus 43 when you go to a big office or Amazon, or what's the grocery store Amazon owns?
Fresh or Whole Foods?
Whole Foods. And this goes beyond, and then I think small businesses are 300% more likely to donate. So if I think back, we would sponsor a local competition at the soccer team, or we would sponsor a prize at the horse riding competition. Those kind of things happen with small businesses. And that's really important for communities, and that does something to society. And now going all the way back to Mexico, I think there is a price that comes to these things, an emotional price that I can't pay to walking out of a really nice club in Germany and knowing I'm just not getting beaten up by somebody, or my car not being keyed. And I totally admit that everywhere in Europe this is going south as well, but it used to just be Berlin back in the day. You could drive your Porsche around in Hamburg and let it park it and be fine, or in Munich. And there is value to that, and there's value where I would put money on. So when you earlier had your colleague or your friend who had this business that he didn't want to sell to private equity, even though he said it was an 8-figure sum, obviously you can say oh, he's losing money of 8 figures, or you say his honor and his morals and his conscience is worth to him that amount.
I mean, it's objectively foolish, but humanly the right answer.
There's things money can't buy, and some of them are your honor, your principles, your backbone, your way of life, your satisfaction with who you are as a person and how you want to live.
So if you go back to what you were saying about having an opinion and doing it your way, do you know who Dr. Drew is?
No.
So he's just addiction medicine. He's kind of like a celebrity doctor. I was listening to him, I forget what, but 78% of physicians are employees. And they carried the corporate narrative through during COVID, when many of them disagreed with the science. And after we unpack everything, finds out the dissenting opinion was correct. Right. And if you would ask me what percentage of physicians are employees before I heard this number, I would have told you in the US, I would have told you 30%,
yep,
maybe 40%, not 80. And so it's, there is value in not having corporate complexes. What does it say?
Happiness is positive cash flow. And this sticker I have on purpose. So the finance bros love it, and it has my QR code, and I have a way in, and they reach out to me on LinkedIn. That's all interesting. But what I really have it for is the people who don't have this opinion and who go oof, that's they start a conversation with me. They go well, that's very capitalist, or money isn't everything. And I'm well, if you don't have enough money, you can't leave a job you hate, or being bullied. You can't leave a relationship that might be abusive because you're financially dependent. You can't leave a town that might hate you for your political views or who you are, right? There are dire consequences, especially in the US.
Is it more contentment is positive cash flow then?
It's the ability to move things around, right?
Freedom, and as you said,
if you would have been actually it should say freedom is positive cash flow. If you look at the physicians, right? If you you have a board, you are bound by certain things, and you can be
bound.
Yeah, and if you have your boss and all these systems, right? So having other income streams, it might not always be nice, but at least you have an ability to walk out of things when you disagree and say, I think this is completely wrong, and I can eat that loss, and I can leave this job, or I can leave this position, or I don't need to do money deals with you, even though for the money, because I think you're a horrendous person. So not that I think that of you, but you know what I mean.
Clearly,
yeah, absolutely. I only travel 14 hours for people I hate.
14. This was your skill issue. It's only 6 hours from San Francisco to here.
I didn't have Lori to book my flights. I need a fixer. Does she? Can I see it? Can I fractionalize her?
I can fractionalize her out for you. She'll do 2 hours worth of work. I'll bill you 22. But
I see you learned from McKinsey.
100%. Sorry to my former employer. Had a really good time there. I really did. I actually felt like I drove massive impact the whole time I was. I felt like I did in 3.5 years, I never felt like I did not over deliver what we charged.
I'm actually very sad of never having properly gone to it. So this is the impact your environment has on you. So I had a lot of ex-consultants around me that went into startup and that were successful, and everybody told me I hated it or I wouldn't do well. What they actually meant is like, you do great, but you hate your life and you hate your soul. And I'm not sure if it's true or not. I always think it's a little bit like boot camp for corporate people.
So this is what I'll tell you. And I did not get it. So I met this guy. The reason I went to McKinsey is because there was this guy, Nathan Flesher. I haven't talked to him in a decade almost, probably more. And he's got a beard, and he's at a mine in Labrador, Canada, and he's interviewing me over a video, which was in 2012. And I was like, dude, this is cool. It was like a video call. And you know, like a corporate video call, not a FaceTime. And I was like, well, do you have any advice? He's like, just work with good people. And he's like, I'm in a mine and miserable in the middle of nowhere. And it takes me and he was in San Francisco or Silicon Valley, and he had to go to Labrador like every week.
Oof.
I mean, it's like, I did probably 3 flights. And everybody says work with the right people, right? And I was on some teams there where I had spectacular people, and I was on some teams there where I didn't gel as well. It's better to do anything with good people, whether you know anything about it or not, and you've got to get hot and study up and get smart and work harder than to work with crap people and have an 8-hour day.
I would totally agree. I think that's the whole appeal of startups as well, and how we get talent for less is culture. I'd love to talk with you about work and money and freedom, because I think we differ a lot on this, and how you think like hard work and achieving anything, and can there be a balance? Like, is there a way of like buying businesses where you actually also get to enjoy yourself and don't work those crazy hours that you put in?
I don't see it. And that's probably a mental block for me. Mm-hmm. I know I have 2 things signed, not closed right now. Please touch my custom table. Please pray for my control deals. I see people on Twitter say I run this business on 3 hours a week. I don't believe it for 2 seconds.
Yeah, so like I was in Austin, and I met Paul Millard, The Pathless Path author.
This one.
I think it's a great book. I think maybe you hated half of it, but it's definitely a good read. And we're talking a lot about like wanting more life versus wanting more money, and how he sees things. And I think he's very much on one extreme of the end. I think there's difference between growing companies and like buying something and optimizing things. So like the way I think about this is there is no such thing as passive money ever. Like all money is worth something. Like all money is like costs you time, but there's a question. You always need to spend time learning about a skill or familiarizing yourself with like the market or the way things move. But there's things where you can set up things for better or for worse. And I don't expect anybody to buy a business and then after 3 months just coast. But I think if you take a look out of a Zoom of like 3 to 5 years, you definitely are able to reduce your workflow by hiring other people. It might cost you money, right? Like it eats into your profit margin.
Oh, this is my litmus test. If I could buy a business and only show up to the board meetings once a quarter, maybe dial in a monthly 1-hour financial update call, maybe not, maybe one of my guys does, and the thing grows like clockwork, not that there's not problems, but year over year, it grows at 7% CAGR without me touching it.
You're like an endless growth person, right?
Why would you not grow? You're either growing or you're dying.
Yes.
Because inflation's eating you alive. If you're not growing, inflation's eating you alive.
Yes, inflation is eating your lunch.
You got to grow at least inflation plus 200 basis points, or you're eating it alive.
Yes, I think there's people. There are businesses. Whether we look at like, well, it's basically real estate with like fancy things like parking lots, vending machines.
Parking lots, amazing business.
All those kind of.
The problem is you can't buy. I mean,
you can't buy them.
It's just hard to buy, right? Like, I mean, there's amazing business. God, I wish I owned. You think I'd be doing what I do if I owned 30 parking lots?
But why are you doing what you're doing?
Because it's fun. It's so fun.
Is there an end point for you at some point?
I'm not
where
money
you're
motivated. I mean, ideally, what I'd be is there's 30 guys. There's 30 guys and girls, and 25 of them are kind of military veterans, and then 5 of them are kind of deal professionals, and we've got 7. I forget the structure. We've got 7 to 10 assets, like boots on the ground at every asset, and at the end of Every year, I like the upper out system, the Cravath McKinsey system. Every year, we ask 3 or 4 people, hey, you done a really good job. You may or may not be you're not ready to be a partner. Why don't you go run this company for us? And then every year we bring on a new class, just like McKinsey does.
Yep.
Bring on a new class, 5 to 7 people. We're 5 to 7 people, and we're always constantly training people. And then am I traveling 4 weeks a month? No. Dude, I'm going to sit at a V-shaped table and I'm going to look at everybody's deals. People are fighting over their deals, and they're not arguing over capital. They're arguing over the team members that we have trained because they want to steal them at their asset for 6 weeks to run a project.
I mean, that's a genius.
Yeah. I'm not money motivated. I'm really not.
Yeah. I wasn't wondering about the money. I just know you have these massive work hours. I mean, me too, but where you're always I want to family and time for my partner, etc. But you seem to very much love the grind. So I was is there an end point where you're I'm going to reduce my hours?
No, I love it.
You're high on the cortisol and dopamine.
I love it. It's that. I mean, yes, drug of choice.
Cortisol.
100%. Cortisol and dopamine. Yeah, absolutely.
Your doctors must be not having the best time. Let's talk about AI, because when we first met, I think I was telling you off and you were telling me off online.
So yes, we'll talk about AI now, because I'm using AI. The irony of me using AI when we were fighting over AI when we met.
You've come from Salus to Paulus a little bit.
No, I've always used it. It's useful. My problem with AI is because everybody tells me it's going to destroy all the jobs. It's not. It's going to make more jobs. Yes,
I think what's really important is, I can't believe I'm saying this, don't crucify me. This is probably the worst word you can ever say in a finance conversation. It's if you look at Karl Marx's analytics of how the Industrial Revolution and the steam machine affected capital ownership and the working class, I think he was very track on. I think there's parallels where you can look, life got better if you zoom out for everyone, right? And it's
Absolutely.
The same with economic progress lifts people out of poverty. We have less spouse beating, we have less poverty, we have less illiteracy.
More fertility.
I don't know about that.
No, so we could get into that over dinner, but more fertility.
Okay, I'll take it, right? Maybe I'll ChatGPT fact check that. But we have all these massive things. But if you look at the individual position, right there, from working on a farm, which is very much a half a year job because the other year you're twiddling your thumbs waiting for the crops to grow, to working 8 hours in a factory, that transition wasn't nice for many people. And obviously there were very many highly skilled merchants, right? Sewing clothes was a high skill, right? Especially elaborate clothes that suddenly lost all their status, as you could just do it for 1/3 of the cost. And I think that's definitely something you will see, where there will be a short-term pain.
The developers are getting crushed right now. They're getting crushed like blacksmiths, like a Saxon blacksmith, man, circa 1300. Yes
and no. I think there is definitely elements, but also I think I don't know who posted this. Somebody on Twitter was oh, my lovable or bold-made SaaS, which is this AI design thing with Cursor, is just making 10 or 20K a month MRR, and then 2 weeks after this post, he was guys, you're attacking, right? People knew how Cursor rides, so they were attacking all his open vulnerabilities. And there's definitely devs who are now charging top dollar to fix somebody's vibe coded thing that makes maybe 20K.
Second person today that said vibe coded.
Well, I'm a tech bro at heart, actually. I just have a weird little outside facade, but I am definitely in the VC SF world in there. And so vibe coding is great. I vibe coded the whole front end of Bizzed because my CTO is a backend API genius that does all that, really pushes the model to the maximum they can do. But he's not necessarily the best designer.
So AI, we argued about AI. I said it wasn't going to be as disruptive as everybody's claiming it to be.
Exactly. We were arguing, and we were kind of going I just can't do the private equity world. And I was look, just because the models aren't right, they're associates right now. They're baby steps. In their first 4 weeks, they're doing their Excel course. They're slow. They're crying every day. Give them some time. Sam Altman is doing it.
So what I'm hearing you say is, once it's a gangly teenager, it's going to be better?
I'm just saying, as it grows, right, as it learns more, it's getting there. I also think there's this massive movement, similarly to how you look at let's look at retail shops and just general retail and the advent of the World Wide Web, where people were people always want the physical experience, and then we're not going to die. And then plenty of them, lo and behold, long-term wise died. And some of them were able to get that special experience and survive on that. I think you'll see similar things. MDs won't want to use it. because they don't trust it as much. It's like an associate staying up till 6 a.m. crunching the numbers, sleep deprived on 15 zins and a coffee. But that's okay. And then there will be younger, more agile firms who will try to... I'm a Lucy girl. I like the flavored gums, but I feel you. And then there will be more modern firms who will use AI to like get the same done, I think, with less capacities and quicker.
The 6 a.m. grinding thing, and obviously you've heard me make this rant too.
I'm being hyperbole.
No. I know it does happen, and it's useless. And I watch people that do not understand what a Pareto chart is, and they work on the tiniest bar of the Pareto for the exact same. They allocate the exact same amount of time, that like 4x, as they do the big chunky needle mover like your customer concentration.
Yeah.
Does Bizzed fix that problem, or do you look at the little thing as much as you look at the big thing?
You are having a problem how you look at this. You think of the AI similarly of a human brain, where you like we just get more compute. We can do both at once without losing the quality.
But why would you use processing power? How do you
why not?
How do you weight the factors?
That's a CTO problem.
I know you. That's a what?
That's a CTO problem.
No, I know you don't. I know you don't have to worry about somebody sleeping.
Yeah,
but it's like waiting. So it takes human judgment to weight the factors.
In the sense, yes, obviously there's some weighting. I think right now we're doing just some like fancy math in the background where we like score different things to like different intensities. Customer concentration, for example, is a big one. I think if it's more than 15%, we're like big no, like massive like alarms go off, red flags. Like, are you sure?
Concentration creates so much wealth and it destroys so much wealth simultaneously.
Yes.
Is one of the biggest mistakes I see entrepreneurs make is they get into a thing and they get to a 30% customer concentration and they stop paying attention to that customer. So because they need to diversify their customer base. Do you see what I'm saying, right? Like customer concentration builds so much wealth, and it has to be mindfully managed.
Absolutely.
Right? I have seen literal entrepreneurs pivot away from a 30% customer concentration, and then the customer was like, as I was getting all this service, and you're out there trying to spearfish new things.
Yeah, and it's a little bit like, I think it's a Paul Graham essay about users you want or you don't want, actually. So
it's a different situation if you don't want the business. But they think the business on autopilot. They're like, oh, they're not going to go away. They need me. And that's not true. You were servicing them like a gem because you were the most important customer.
I'll also never lose the kindness. I think this goes so far. I used to write handwritten thank you, like Christmas notes during my university to like all my friends, especially a couple of friends where I had to make their money during the .com bubble and so on in Berlin. And like it goes a long way, just those small things that I think we're definitely underestimating.
Okay, so we've got the 8 list. I want to read this out.
List.
Since you're the AI techie. Okay, we've got 8 types that ChatGPT 01 deep researchers came up with of people that were not, I feel like we're gonna do the Letterman, people that would transition into small business ownership.
I'm gonna preface this with AI is really good to work through established processes and things that are there. It's not yet there where it can make up new things and understand like new market segments. So I'm very curious what it puts out.
Okay, so you got number 1, the former corporate executive.
Yeah. Standard.
Spent years in large organizations and now seeks direct control, brings structure, professionalism, and management expertise.
That's the classic story, right? Like I used to slay hours away at like Wall Street or JP Morgan, and now I own 5 vending machines and nail salons and laundromats, living my best life. That's the classic story, right? Like
we were just talking about this. I feel like it's listening to me now because we were just talking about this. Number 2, the tech industry transplant. Comes from roles like software engineering or product management. Thrives on innovation or data. Needs to adapt offline realities in a more personal, human-centric environment. Translation, AI is coding away my job.
It's yes and no. So like I think these are the people who like look at these super old businesses and will go like, oh, we could do all these cool things and fancy techs and let me fix it, and then don't realize what team they're buying.
Oh, that's the Ben Kelly, you got to take the fax machines away playbook.
I mean, every one of them has them, but I think were we talking about this online as well, where like people need to understand who they're managing. Like you're going from like a kombucha sommelier environment at a tech thing to like probably blue collar workers and employees. Like this is a different management style. You can't just like come and rip everything out and expect them to know how tech works. Like the reason that they still print the NDA, photocopy it, convert it into a PDF, and then send it to you is because they don't know how the other system works and they're confused by it. So like that's, I think what many of these people miss is like especially the more employees you have, I think the harder it is to switch. I think it's easier to go into like a 2-man operations and be like, here's your Google Maps business profile, here's the social media, here's like the automated backend.
I'd rather have no tech than bad tech.
Yeah.
For me, we're looking at a business now it's over 100 million revenue, and they have no CRM.
I have something mean to say here, which was like, but you also asked Deloitte to like analyze you if you should move something online or not. So I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I also had to get that to investment committee.
I know. The only reason that consultancies won't die is the IC.
I know. The invest. Okay, let's go. Number 3, we've got the military veteran entrepreneur. Pretty.
I really want to. I hope that we can help move more of these people in there as well. I'm really passionate about being thankful for everybody who's in the service, whether it's police or military or all those things. I think they do amazing work. And I know there's people already doing that, but I hope we can somehow maybe also help there. I don't know.
Keep them away. There's
we'll
some
see.
people that leverage their military background to target those people. All right, we got financial deal maker. That's a private equity bro that didn't screen for vice president.
And now is angry and is doing it himself and is building his own Berkshire Hathaway and is going to show all of them.
We got the serial entrepreneur.
Boring.
Boring. Next generation family successor. Boring. Lifestyle motivated owner.
Which, this is where we disagree, right? Because you say if I don't grow 7%, I'm dying, which I think is technically right, but there's so many small businesses who are still profitable, who haven't increased their prices in forever. I think it's totally fair to want...
So I don't care if we go by price or volume. I didn't mean...
Yeah, I think it's totally fair to say, like, I have my little corner of this thing and I want to focus on high quality work and doing better services and just like being integral to my community and just let that do its thing. Let that roll around.
And the last one is this skilled practitioner. This is weird. Perfected a craft or trade.
Oh no, this is classic. These are the things where the girl I said, well, I mean, the gym is a bad example, but like somebody being in a trades business or doing trade school and then the owner going like,
welder.
Hey, you should take over and you're 25 and you're like, should I? Like, am I gonna, like, is my house gonna go up the line? Am I gonna have nightmares because I don't make payroll? Because like, even if you're an employee, there's so many things you don't see and you don't see how often they're like a day away from making payroll or like not taking pay themselves so you get paid. So like all those kind of question.
So we've got 10 minutes left, and I didn't even hit any of my interesting entrepreneurship questions that I ask every entrepreneur because we just flowed like Rogan.
Sorry, I'm a yapper.
You are a yapper. All right, look, tell me about what was the biggest piece of advice you'd give to. So you've basically always been an entrepreneur.
I think so, very much to like the dismay of my parents. And I didn't want to be. When I was in boarding school, I was like, because I was in an environment where kids come to you and like calculate how much your clothes are worth and how much their clothes are worth and like tell you like, right, like that kind of, and I was like,
those kids need to get punched in the face.
Yeah.
Those kids have never been in a fight. They need to get in a fight.
Look, it is what it is. They were also really lovely people, but like I was in this environment. I was really wanting to make money, and I was like, I'm going to be a consultant or a lawyer, and like that all didn't pan out because I'm too pragmatic, and the brain's wired differently. I think my piece of advice, I wrote this blog article just now, coming back from Jordan, meeting with some people there, and being asked like, hey, how would you? They were really caring about designing their schools and systems so that their youth has a chance and is competitive not only on the global market but also by themselves. And I was like, the best piece of advice is just to do things. And it's so hard, especially like me with a German mindset, coming from like this like straight A path of good grades, Oxford, go into consulting, to learn to just do things and just get a Lovable or a V0 and just play around and make some online videos. Like you can AI, you don't even need to use your face anymore, right? Like you can AI some videos, just do things and learn through that. I think there's so much more feedback loop and it's so much quicker in the time that you just went and did something than it takes to think about.
Yep. Okay. Move faster, break things. You can just do stuff.
Not your bank account, right? I'm not saying like quit your job right now, do like a toy company that makes plushies with the face of their owner for dogs, right? Like I'm saying, but just like make the toy company website on the weekend, promote it, see what comes back and just do it. Stop researching and doing more market research and listening. Just throw it out there in small steps.
I couldn't agree with you more. Like, so like if I take it over to like all the sales jobs I had in my career, I had this LatAm asset that the head of sales, well, he was like, well, I got to get the marketing logo right. Everything would call. Everything.
I need to admit I was there as well. We don't even have an agreed logo yet. If you see it on the stickers as well, like I spent so long and I wasn't quite happy, and we still haven't settled. And I actually
can outsource that to my graphics team, right?
I can. Well, we have a creative on our team that I've now just tasked with picking the logo.
I actually didn't notice that. You really don't have a logo, do you?
We have like Bizzed here, which has the arrows, the small arrows above it, like the purple, and then we just have like this inquired here as well. And the website is black now, but it used to be purple. It's gonna be fun.
It's gonna be fun. Okay, what's the most? This is my question. I say everybody. Yep. What's the most impactful book you've ever read for your life? You can only give me one.
Oh, I have the answer now. I heard this question. I wanted to think about it and I didn't. But I think the 5 Regrets of the Dying.
I've never.
Bronnie Ware, a lovely, lovely woman, a lot more like hippie and leftist and manifestation, but it's a great account and I think it's a good reminder. I think I've read it 3 times by now. I should probably read it again because I've been, as an entrepreneur, you know this, you're constantly—
5 Regrets of the Dying?
Yeah, you're constantly thinking, I want. And it's like a nightmare that this VC didn't sign or this angel fell through or we didn't get that deal. And like, I can't believe this person hasn't responded to me and like my flight's delayed and everything is always like the world's against you and everything's like death or alive, right? And then sometimes it's good to read and be like, the things people regret most, not living their true self. And then you're like, should I go into this business deal with this person that I'm actually not happy with? Or not spending enough time with their family or not laughing enough. And like, right, you read it and you're like, people are dying every day. Like, everything's fine. I think it's a good reminder. And I like data, right? Like she's taken care of like however many hundreds people that are, is it palliative in English as well?
What's it called?
What do you call the nursing on the last steps of people that die?
Oh, palliative. So we'd say hospice, but palliative care.
Yeah, it's like palliative in German. Yeah. So like there's great data in that as well. And I'm like, well, the successful people, not successful people, young and old. And I'm like, okay, this seems.
Janine, it's fun. You want to go get a steak?
We'll go get a steak.
Where can we find you?
Where can you find me? So you can find me on Twitter with like my first name _ last name. You can find me. You can find Bizzed.ai, Bizzed. It's like Biz from Boring Biz, but Bizzed. You can find my LinkedIn, which there's only one Subgang really in the world.
How do you say that in German? You told me earlier.
Subgang.
I like Subgang better.
Subgang is so much better. But there's a small street in Germany with our name close to where my great-great-grandparents grew up. So like I can never ruck anybody or like do a bad deal because you can find my house and you can find where I am. And like there's like, if you put my surname in LinkedIn, there's exactly one person. So you can come say hi. Come say hi if you want to buy a business. Come say hi if you're lending into it. Come say hi if you like AI and building cool consumer products.
So I'm gonna send you a sim for something I'm looking at, and I'm gonna put on Twitter what I think.
But we don't do big cap deals, right? No, we do like small cap deals. But yes, send it anyway.
Send it. Well, what if I do a sim in a data room again?
Your data rooms are massive, but sure.
I know. In God we trust. All others bring data.
Size does matter.
Oh God. On that note, super nice to have come out. Very inspirational person.
Thank you for having me.
You're like the one human that talks faster than me.
I think as fast as well. It's really
I don't think that fast. I just say things.
But yeah, I hope you enjoy the sticker. Happiness, positive cash flow.
Guys, live, laugh, leverage. Anyway, thanks for coming out today. Super nice to meet you face to face finally.
Thank you for joining us on Lever Up. We trust today's conversation provided meaningful insights into private equity and entrepreneurship. Stay connected by subscribing to our podcast for upcoming episodes.